Hi, it's Suzanne Jagger from Aura Aesthetics and Aura Aesthetics Academy. I wanted to do an intro video to answer a lot of the common questions I get about the program and about getting trained in general. So the first thing I get is, can I make money at this? Is this something that I should invest my time and hard-earned dollars to pursue? And as advanced practice nurses, it really is. And what I love about injecting and the aesthetics business is that it's quite scalable. So it can be your side gig. So if you want to maintain a full-time job and do talks on the side, whether that's just seeing friends and family or even doing the occasional Botox party, you can do that. That's an option for you. And that way you don't need an office, you don't need a ton of overhead, you don't need a website. You can just go take care of people and even yourself and have a nice little side business. Now, if you want to go next level, let's say that you want to potentially go part-time at your primary job and you want to have more flexibility. A lot of moms call me and say, I just want some more flexibility so that I can generate a little bit of money and also pick up my kids sometimes, or even be room mom, or be there at home for dinner one more night a week. Totally an option for you, but you're going to have to invest a little bit more time in growing your business to support that aspect of your income that you're hoping to achieve. So if you want to get a little bit more money and make it a little bit more legit, then think about getting a room. And I love renting a room in a current salon, in a hair salon, in a nail salon, in a lash bar. Someone's been successful in a yoga studio, something like that. And you can even room share it. It doesn't need to be fully yours, but you could rent one of these places. They can run anywhere from, in some areas I hear, as low as like $250 up to maybe $1,000 a month. And that way you can see clients more efficiently. It's a much more efficient way than for you spending your time driving to people to do house calls, which is easy and flexible, but again, not the most efficient use of your time. You can book more clients, and if you're gonna get a room, I recommend being able to work it at least 2 days a week. And that may not be a full 8-hour day. Maybe that's a 4-hour block, but you got to put some time into it. And you're going to have more overhead, but that's okay because you're going to be bringing in more clients to support that overhead cost. And I'll talk to you about when that break-even point is. Then the last thing is maybe you dream of getting out of being in the hospital or clinic at all. And you're like, I'm done. I'm ready to go do something else with my skills. And that way you can start thinking about doing a full-blown med spa. Whether or not you are just a one-man show and you're in it working it 40 hours a week, or you decide that you want to bring in staff and start scaling and offering more treatment options and offering and maybe having employees. That's an option for you too. Definitely more work, definitely more overhead, but it is doable. So you've got 3 options. You've got almost no overhead, no stress, just treat your friends and family, versus getting a room versus full-blown med spa. And in my business course, we talk a lot about what the advantages and disadvantages of each of those, and then how you can start there and get there if that's your goal. Which is a segue into what do you get out of my course. So what's different is that I have a big business section. And a lot of what we talk about while we learn about neurotoxin, while we learn about dermal fillers, is the business side of it, because most of you are going to become CEOs of your own company. And how exciting is that? Not only do you get to become a CEO, you get tax benefits of having your own business, and you get the satisfaction of doing something that's yours. Like, that's such a privilege and honor to be able to get up in the morning and do work that serves your goals. I can't tell you how motivating that is. You'll never work harder than you do for yourself. That is the truth. So when you do a class with me, first of all, I only teach APRNs. I only teach CRNAs, and I teach nurse practitioners. So if you're one of those, then you're welcome at my class. Why do I do that? It's because I can teach to a much higher level of training. When you look at other classes, oftentimes they will teach even as low as an MA. And as we know, MA's training coming into a class is not exactly the background that we're hoping for. So when I train CRNAs and NPs, you're coming in with an amazing background of knowledge. You have great hands, you've done procedures, you know what a syringe is and how to hold it. I mean, we're not jumping off at that really elementary level. We can just dive into anatomy, physiology, rheology of what we're working with fillers, understanding the pathophysiology of what we're trying to achieve. We can go into a much greater depth of knowledge fast, so that you leave with a really strong foundation of who, what, where, when, and why, okay? And we talk a lot about complication management. In other classes, they're just trying to get a syringe in your hand because a lot of people haven't injected anything before. I was just watching a video and they're bragging, you'll inject over 12 patients. That's great. If you're injecting 12 patients, that means that you have not spent the time assessing, understanding why you're injecting them, where you're injecting them, what product you're using, what are your treatment goals, what happens if it doesn't go right. Guarantee you don't have time to talk about that stuff. You can go get hands-on training anywhere, but understanding the fundamentals is where I really pride myself. We spend tox class over 4 hours and over 100 and I think I'm up to 200 slides just in neurotoxin. All right. Then we practice injecting, and we inject with saline. Why? Because if you mess up injecting 1/100th of a cc, there are consequences. So we practice on saline, all right, so that you get comfortable with injecting before you start injecting real product, all right? That's the day one of neurotoxin training. And then we move into business training. Business training starts with everything from how to form an LLC or a PLLC, or maybe you're going to be an S Corp. These are things that you need to discuss with your accountant and your attorney, but we talk about how to form a business, how to get paid, how to be compliant. You're now a healthcare business. You need to understand the HIPAA implications. You need to understand how to accept payment. You need to understand how to chart. Where are you going to get clients? How are you going to get clients? How do you do marketing? What about getting a website? What about Sharps disposables? I mean, like, there's so many things under the sun that you need to know about that I have figured out so that I can tell you so that you don't have to figure it out yourself. All right. So that's the business section that we usually do in anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. It just depends on what your questions are. Moving on to day 2 is dermal fillers. Dermal filler class, I'm going to tell you, you will not leave an excellent dermal filler injector. It's impossible. It is definitely science, but there's a lot of art to it. But my goal is to get you the foundational knowledge that you need to grow your practice and then go and get more hands-on experience. So we spend 5 hours diving into all the things you need to know about filler, all the different products, why you use some products in some places and not in others, understanding the planes of anesthesia of injecting, not anesthesia. That's my background, but of injectables, because everything's about tissue planes, and you need to know what plane you're working in to achieve the goals that you're looking for your clients. You really need to understand consultation, because expectations in this business are everything. And if you can't predict what this client's going to need with the product that you choose, you're not going to be able to adequately explain that to your client. So we talk a lot about that stuff. And then in the afternoon, we start injecting. And I teach you how to inject the 2 most common areas, which are cheeks and lips. There are lots of other things that you can inject, but really I want you to get the foundations down, understanding the different types of injecting patterns, whether it's a bolus or it's a thin thread. You learn those things so that when you go on for more training and more experience, you have the baseline knowledge to apply what they teach you. So that is what we do with my training, and I think it's why it's a little bit special. I also keep the class sizes small. Of course, I only keep it to the APRNs so that we have a peer group that we can be safe and comfortable with. And I really think it's what sets my class apart. All right, so that is one of the big things about why you should come see me at Aura Academy. The next thing I get is scope of practice issues, because there's so much variability in rules from state to state. And I love it that people think that I know what's going on in Vermont, but I don't. I'm not an attorney. I'm not, I clearly don't practice there. So no, I don't know the rules, but I'm going to teach you how to find out. And one of the things that you need to do before you even think about this is find out if this is in your scope of practice. In most states it is. That's great news, but you need to find that out for yourself. So where do you find out this information? There are 2 great places that I want you to look. One is I want you to Google your State Board of Nursing scope of practice documents. And most of the states have a decision tree that kind of walk you through like what's in your scope and what's not. They also oftentimes have a position statement on who can do aesthetics in your state. So I want you to look that up as well. So those are both things that you just find on Google. The next thing is to reach out to your state organization, professional organization, your nurse anesthesia state your board, your nurse practitioner state board, and reach out to them and find out what are the rules and regulations around aesthetics, because they can be a really great resource. And remember, they're there to help support you in your practice. Unlike boards of nursing, the Board of Nursing is there to protect the public from nurses. They're not to support your practice. So if you call, you may just get a receptionist there who is, again, charged with protecting the public from you. And if it's something they don't know about, they're going to say no, because they don't want to deal with it. So don't call the Board of Nursing, please. Some states are lovely, other states are not. Sometimes you stir the bees. You don't want to deal with it. So really, really do the best you can to research it on your own, whether it's through Google, whether it's through your state organization. And also see who else is doing it in your state and maybe give them a call. You know, we all boats rise together. I feel like there's no reason to be protectionist. People often ask, well, is this market saturated? And absolutely not. We're still continuing to grow at around 8 to 12% a year, depending on who you read, for resources. And no one ever says there's too many hairdressers, there's too many nail salons, there's too many great restaurants. It doesn't happen. It doesn't get market saturated. It gets market saturated with, potentially people that are not doing a great job. I'd say there's plenty of that out there. So go get trained and do an amazing job, and you'll never run out of clients. All right. So it is not saturated. Definitely room for growth. Definitely room for growth for you to start small and get big, if that's what you want, or stay small and keep it to, whatever you want. And that's the next take-home message. Should you do it? Begin with the end in mind. So I really want people to get a little bit woo-woo and have a moment and like zen out, I don't know, light a candle, have a glass of wine, I don't care, and really kind of envision what you want your life to look like. If you can picture yourself doing this, spending time, building your practice, if you find this like in your soul exciting to do, then it's definitely something to pursue. If you can't picture it and envision it, just like when I'm injecting, if I can't see what the client wants me to achieve for them, I don't start. If you can't see this path for yourself from the beginning, and it might be a little bit fuzzy out in the distance, like you don't know how it's going to develop necessarily, that's okay. But begin with the feeling or the goal or a number, something that's motivating to you that you can envision and drive towards. Because once we have that goal, we can get a path there. All right. So I encourage you to think about all this. Look at our website at www.aura-academy.com. There'll be a link for that. And also you can join our private Facebook group. I keep it private so that I can make sure that it's people of our peers within the group so that it's free to ask questions and follow up. So look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group. I really want you to think about whether or not this is something you'd like to do. All right, feel free to reach out with any questions. I'm happy to do a phone call with you. We can schedule that at any time. And welcome to Injecting.